And we are apparently live on Zoom and we are live on Facebook. Welcome back to The Change Physician. I am Melissa Cady, the Challenge Doctor, with my co-host, Dr. Kevin Cuccaro. We're both Change Physicians. The podcast name, Change Physician. Ever evolving, changing physicians. Welcome to the human experience. If you don't know what The Change Physician is all about, go to thechangephysician.com. It'll tell you all about us and what we're up to. And of course, this is Saturday Salutations, and we are here to share what recently happened on the most recent episodes of our podcast, and maybe share a little tidbit here or there of what's going on in the world or with us. And how are you doing, Kevin?
I am well. How are you?
I am great.
You're
having great, like the tiger.
Oh, what time we just don't have Tony the Tiger still around anymore?
The Frosted Flakes guy?
Yeah, Tony the Tiger, man.
Our nice. What's that?
You don't see those. Well, I was just like one of the things, like I like commercials, right? Is you don't really, unless you're on YouTube, and I guess if you pay something, you don't have to watch them, but you just don't see the commercials anymore, right?
I know.
Commercials was such a. I'm not saying I want to go back to that. But I do have, I mean, there's all those classic commercials that people just probably don't get the if you're younger, you don't get those references. Like I remember the first time my kids, we went to, not the first time, but we had gone to my mom's house. They're really little. And since we never had cable, we haven't had cable for a couple decades now. And they always would be watching Netflix, and they're watching a show at my mom's house. And my daughter's like, Daddy, make this go away. And it was like a commercial that came up. I'm like, oh, you don't even know what these are.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. Yeah, no, I reference, so funny sometimes my patients for anesthesia, they're trying to figure out like, oh, I just, am I going to feel relaxed? What's it going to feel like when I have the relaxing medicine? I'm like, that Calgon take you away?
Calgon,
and then you can totally tell that I am older than some of these 20-something-year-olds have no clue what I'm talking about.
What?
So, yeah.
That was a good one. Like, where's the beef? Come on. There's all these, what other classic commercials are there?
Oh, and then Get a Rope.
Get a Rope. The
salsa?
The salsa.
Yeah.
Isn't that made in Austin? It was made in Texas or whatever.
I don't know where it was made. I just know that
it was Texas. But then they're like, where's this stuff? New York City. Get a Rope. Yeah. Or the oh my God, there's so many. And then how about Kool-Aid dude? The Kool-Aid man when he busts through the walls. You remember those?
Yeah. I don't remember like the sayings. I'm sure our listeners can put in the chat some interesting commercials that we are reminiscing or need to reminisce about.
How about remember was it Folgers crystals? There was the coffee one, and everybody was totally into it because he had the romance. The guy, it was the British guy who I think ended up playing Giles in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and they would go next door to get the coffee and stuff, and it was this whole big long thing, and everybody, you don't remember that?
Like, I remember something about an empty cup.
Oh yeah, and it was almost this whole romance thing. That they had a series of commercials kind of based on it, and that actually makes me think. So I guess we're on Saturday Salutations, and we can think about things. One of the things I've always wondered is particularly with the YouTube commercials or any of those streaming things, and they'll put these stupid commercials in. First of all, YouTube should figure out a way to insert a commercial when there's a logical break. Like, I mean, literally, like they have the algorithms. They should be able to look at like the waves of the sound and stuff and say, okay, this is a good place, rather than right when someone's opening their mouth to talk and all of a sudden it's, an ad.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I wouldn't mind those as much if they didn't play the same ad every time. I'm like, if I was a marketer, what I would do is try to figure out, okay, we have 15 seconds or 20 seconds, or we're making 30-second ads. So how can I make this actually interesting to watch on YouTube? Why don't you make a story ad? So now instead of having the same ad being 13, 5 times in whatever you're watching, if you had 4 variants, you can change it. And then I would be like, I'm waiting for the commercial to see what's going to happen next in this little thing. But I don't know. I'm sure the technology's there, folks. Someone do it, and it would be super cool. And then I'd watch your stupid commercials instead of just going click. But anyway.
Yeah, it's funny how the little jingles is what sticks with you a lot of times. You know, even if you don't remember like exactly what happened in the commercial, the jingles, it just shows you how powerful some of this stuff is and the repetition along with it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, wasn't there like one for Pop Tarts or
Lego My Ego.
yeah, Lego My Ego.
Lego My Ego.
Yeah. That one, and yeah, there's some good ones. I'm sure there's gonna be some that pop up later in the day now that I've put my mind on that. Well, cool. Well, let's mention what we had in the past week. Today is the 19th. So actually, this past week was all about the power of regret. We split it into 2 episodes. So that was us discussing. Any comments about that other than go listen to the episodes?
Other than it just probably has to do with my age and everything else. I think it's actually a pretty good book. Like it wasn't mind blowing in any way, and I talk about it in the 2 episodes there, but pretty good, like really good, and some of Dan Pink's really better work, I would say. Yeah.
But isn't that true though? I mean, sometimes there are things we kind of intuitively know, but we don't. Sometimes we just need reminders and kind of help us reshift our perspective, or just revisit the thought to maybe kind of restructure some things in our lives. Or
but I think there's this stuff that's like intuitive, and you kind of feel it. It might be, you kind of have this feeling about something, but then having it openly discussed increases the level of awareness, and then you can say, yes, okay, that either confirmatory or not, or that's kind of a feeling I'm experiencing. And the more you understand and are aware of it, then the more you have some degree of perception of control over it. Right. And I like a lot of, you simplify the framework. Some of it I was like, okay, there's a couple parts that I was like, but overall I thought it was good, because there's a lot of people who regret stuff.
Yeah.
And I think this comes up, like a lot of the reading really, really comes up because of pain for me, not personal experience of pain, but because it is understanding and learning the science of pain really has moved me into neuroscience and perception. And it's just absolutely fascinating to me, because then I'm always looking at, well, there's, you look at trauma, and then you look at how trauma and post-traumatic growth, as well as people who have trauma and aren't necessarily growing. Instead, they get stuck and stale, and there's this high degree of like PTSD associated with it. And a lot about it is framing. And so you can read this book about regret, and these, which we talk about in those episodes, of things like at leasting or if onlys, if only amplifying the experience of regret, at leasting sort of finding the silver lining in it. And then there's also about changing the narrative. And it's just fascinating to me. There's so many things that you can do and use to basically take life experiences and to reframe them so that they're growth experiences rather than anchoring or traumatic experiences kind of hold you back. And very, very relevant, I think, for almost anybody out there is the more you understand your brain and you understand how your reality is constructed, the more you kind of see how this stuff is put together. There's even really bad things in your life. You can put them together in such a way that you can actually use them rather than get stuck on them. So anyway, big book, long discussion. And I hope you guys enjoyed those episodes.
Yeah. I mean, I think that like you said, the whole awareness thing, when you put it in the forefront of your mind, the way that you unpack things in your life later is so different. Like I wish I had that capacity back in my 20s. But that's all the process of, the brain itself. Like it's interesting how it can, at what point in your life do you have, if you ever develop it, some awareness of certain things, we'd make a lot of better, hopefully wiser choices the sooner we get there.
It's interesting how it starts, right? So I have been very lucky that I think from an early age, I kind of took things like bad events were a learning experience. There may be, I'm embarrassed about that or whatever, but there was I always took it as like a learning thing.
Yep.
And knowing what I know now, I could easily see how just a really simple perceptual shift, my life could have been completely different. And yeah, I don't know. And I don't know how or where that came from. Obviously, it probably had to do something with family and environment and friends and all this other stuff. But it really makes me appreciate the power of words, appreciate the power of what we say and how we construct meaning, and certainly how it influences how I interact with people, and definitely how I raise my kids. Like, huge impact there. Like, in just little simple word things. I mean, you just can see how the power of how you frame something can have such a profound impact on somebody's life.
And that's the kicker, is that many times we don't come into an awareness about a lot of things until your kids are more grown or they're out of the house. Like, if people start early, like, there's pros and cons to all of it. You know, I'm not a parent to anything that's not furry. So it's crazy, because it's like, how are we empowering or preparing each generation? And when they become less and less aware and having them early, like, it just seems like we can't get ahead. Does that make sense? Like, if we had an awareness early on about ourselves and how just the intricacies of what the way the brain is in general and how it works and how we frame things, and the power of what you do and what you say or not do is going to impact your children. If man, our world would be a better place. I feel like it wouldn't get rid of all our problems, but I just feel like I wish we had an awareness.
Well, and I think there's data to support that, right? Because if you want to fundamentally change the healthcare system, or at least I shouldn't say the healthcare system, you want to fundamentally change the health of our nation.
Yeah.
You would funnel, we have, oh God, if you look at kind of the social determinants of health, like 90% of those dollars going to healthcare, which is so far downstream, it's almost like pointless.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you just took 50% of those dollars and then directed them into like early childhood intervention, and that would include early childhood health, that we could call parenting skills, family dynamics, all this stuff that people, some people get all bent out of shape on. But learning these skills early and implementing them early has profound impact on physical and emotional health later on, that's sustained. And the reason we don't do that is because it doesn't make any money.
Mm-hmm.
They're difficult interventions, and they're literally, 5, 10, 15 decades long before you see the big shifts occur.
Yeah.
And not to get too much on my high horse though, but that's exactly what the government's supposed to do. The government is supposed to do the things that are hard, difficult, and take time that nobody else is willing to pay for because they don't make immediate money.
Right. They have the foresight to understand.
They have the foresight to do it. So all this crap about we're going to privatize it, or you cannot privatize these social, because they don't make money. They don't. And the companies that are going to try to privatize it so that they can make money are going to do interventions that don't have the effects that we need. So,
amen.
You just get me all, but it would change everything. I mean, it would just have this huge effect. I just say the likelihood of having a profound effect based on the data that we see in small interventions that have been made on scale in towns, villages, et cetera, had pilot studies, as well as what we know about trauma and early life experiences. The suggested input of this hypothesis is profound. Like, I would put lots of money on if someone wanted to say, how much you want to bet in 20 years if this would work, if we did everything that, what we said, I'd put probably everything that we owned, because I'm so confident in it.
Yeah. And there's, if you can do studies and based on people's zip codes, you can determine their overall current health, which makes you recognize just the socioeconomic consequences, which tie into every other aspect of the human experience, really, and correlates with like the trauma or these childhood adverse events that can happen. Like, all of these things. I mean, the fact that they can like look at a zip code, I mean, it's just sad, because you could target those communities and provide an infrastructure to improve. But the problem is the money, always the money.
It's always the money and this perception that if you're putting money in this place, that you're taking it away from somebody else. And that's not necessarily true. That's a zero sum game and all this stuff. And yeah, we know that there's not unlimited money, governmental money.
Sure.
There's not unlimited healthcare dollars, but I can guarantee you there's areas that there's excessive spending, which has such little or low or negative value. I mean, I can name off the top of my head 5 of them right now. I'm not going to do it because I'll probably piss off some specialists out there. But that's where the intellectual honesty comes in, and particularly as a physician, we're supposed to be physicians, which means physician comes from physicos, and my favorite etymology is it means to heal. Mm-hmm. And if you look at doctor, it means to teach. So you kind of put those together. We're like supposed to teach to heal. We're supposed to get people to get better again. And that's, it's not about doing interventions that are expensive, that are complex, that are cool to do. It's about helping people get well. And if people were a little bit more honest about what we did on a day-to-day basis and said, yeah, I'm doing this, I get paid to do this, but actually the benefits are not there. And we're willing to say, you know what, I'm not going to do this because it's the wrong thing. Those dollars should be invested someplace else for the good of society. Oh my God, consider that the good of society. Horrible thing there. Man, things would be so much better, but people don't. No. And on the other time, I mean, it's such an overwhelming thing. As some people are like, well, if just me taking this action isn't going to change anything, so I might as well just get what I can.
I hear that a lot.
I can. I know the surgery isn't the right thing to do, but if I don't do it, the guy down the street's going to do it. This stupid mental masturbation that really justifies their own self-interest.
Yeah, the fact that I've heard a couple of, I'll just mention it. Some pain physicians. I've heard of some people that went from, doing it the old-fashioned way excessively, and then turned around and try to do, in their words, do the right thing. Like the fact that even happened, just it reveals oodles of information right there. But we're kind of in that state in medicine where we're gonna have to self-police ourselves.
Oh, and we don't do that.
No.
And that's the thing is, it was like people get mad when some outside organization comes in. It's because we don't self-police ourselves. Like if you look at the opioid epidemic didn't come, like the targeting interventions to try to address this monstrosity didn't start with us. It started with law enforcement, and because of what they were seeing through the emergency department. So we're going to self-police ourselves. We've had decades, and we are obviously not good at it. And most people aren't, that's the same way. That's why you're supposed to have an independent arm that can oversee these things, because human self-interest tend to default to their own self-interest.
Yeah, and it's weird though, because you have these non-medical entities that are trying to either regulate or approve, like insurance companies. And it's like you need some regulation of it, but then they can't really make a medical like really truly have the experience that physicians have to make because that there's situations with patients like that doesn't make sense. Like, yeah, I know we shouldn't do this. It's probably not, proven this really going to help or whatever. But then there's those nuances that really require expertise. And so, it's like you're caught in this catch-22 where it's like, if we're not self-policing, other people are going to try to do it. But then what they do may not make sense because, someone who really should have this treatment is not getting it. And there's money that's driven behind this whole machine that's trying to regulate it. Anyway, it can get all, I can go on and on.
It is definitely an imperfect system. And yes. I mean, we can even talk about like FDA approval and the travesties there, and, medical device approval and how that gets approved.
Oh, we need to bring that cardiologist on. Just remember that. Anyway, we won't go into detail on that right now.
Yeah. Anyway. So happy Saturday. I would say this overall, I didn't say anything happy, I guess, for this week. It has been a good week. I didn't have a great day yesterday. I don't know. You don't have any trouble with sleeping, do you?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No, if I have a couple, if I have an alcoholic beverage, I know my quality of sleep is not as good, but that's expected.
So
But
I've had like sleep issues for a long time now, and it's just like the weirdest thing is I'll have this string of really good things, and then on Thursday night I just had one of those ones. It's like I don't even know what the hell happened. Like you just don't sleep. So that was the only negative. But on the same flip side of that is, I don't freak out about it anymore.
yeah,
like in the old days, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not gonna sleep. I'm not gonna sleep. It's like, you can survive this. But super weird. Like your
it's
brain's
not
always
the
trying to
sky
mask
is
this stuff.
falling anymore.
No, I don't get a lot of that. Not with the sleep stuff, but but it's always funny because your brain, the brain always is trying to create a story. It's a meaning making machine. And so then it's like, well, why am I not sleeping at night? Is it because it's a full moon? Is it because of this? Is it because of that? Blah, blah, blah. And I think it was just warm. And I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I guess, should I add in something? Trying to think of anything exciting. This past, actually got out to Fredericksburg for a little brief visit.
Fredericksburg, is that in Virginia? Texas.
Just did a little road trip. Ran a couple errands down there, and it was nice. And it was nice to get out. For the most part, I don't venture out too often. Try to get back into life a little bit, and it's probably the only time that I've actually went to a winery, and partly outside, but then there wasn't that many people. It was like the first time I've ever been. It was really weird without a mask. I had it with me in case it was crowded, or there's a lot of people around me, or I didn't trust somebody that said they're not sick and maybe look sick. So that was kind of a fun experience. This is kind of the time I've been waiting for, is just where the alerts go down, hospitalizations go down, and our therapeutics are on a better level of vaccination levels, and now we can't get all Americans to do that apparently, but we just have a little bit better armamentarium, and that's pretty much why I've been the way I have been for the last 2 years. So it was just kind of nice to kind of feel like a little bit of a freedom that I think too many people were jumping at too soon. But yeah, it's that was my recent last week, and had a day off from work during the week, and so might as well go, and the masses on the weekend there. So yeah, that was about it. You have any last last comments, or do you want to take us out?
I can take us out other than say this was the first week I've not worn a mask.
Oh, you too?
Yeah, it was the first time. And usually I just follow my wife's lead because she's
more concerned.
She's a little bit more concerned, and it was a big grocery store and it wasn't super crowded. And she's like, "Oh, I guess we don't need them today." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." It was super weird.
Isn't it?
It was super weird. But I mean, literally, when you're looking at the data and you look, we're all boosted, and our numbers are really low right now. That will probably change. Yeah, but it was a little weird, I have to say.
Yeah. I think the biggest change for me is that when you think about what you put in your purse or your suitcase or your backpack or whatever you're in, like one of the things that you bring with you is just throw a mask in there. You just never know when you might need it.
I have them in my pockets of my jackets, and they just sit in there. And I actually don't mind, and I will probably keep doing it. There's certain situations I think it makes, because we haven't been sick.
Yeah,
that's
it's nice not being sick.
It's nice not being sick. And then I'm thinking, like, when we have grass seed season, I'll be I wore it outside for my son's graduation last year, and I wore an N95, and I didn't get super bad allergies that day. And I was like, "This is freaking awesome. This is good." So I don't think it's going to go away. I think I would like to see us to be more like Asian countries, a little bit more community oriented on that. It's like, okay, if you're feeling ill, just wear a mask. Yeah. Seriously, it's not that hard.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just a consideration thing, and whenever you have a heightened concern.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, yeah, take us out.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us for this Saturday Salutations, where we not only did some salutating, but some ranting as well.
Ranting and salutating.
Yeah, we will see you again soon. Actually, I won't see you. I probably won't see you next week. It might just be you, because we're doing a little spring break trip with my family. And anyway, so if I happen to pop in and see you guys, that'll be awesome. Otherwise, I'll leave you with Dr. Katie. And until next time, stay well.
Take care.